Hey everyone, Mr. MC here. This is a guide for round 3 of the 2022 Manufacturers Cup Stage 1 taking place at Brands Hatch Indy with the Group 3 cars. So let's take a quick look at the race details. So this is a 25 lap race around Brands Hatch Indy, so the smaller track. All 3 racing tire compounds are allowed, but only the racing medium and hard tires are required. And even though it says that there are no minimum pit stops, you still have to go get a tire change to switch over to the other required tires, so you're going to be making at least 1 pit stop. Fuel is a ×3, so fuel is actually not an issue, but tire wear is a ×10, so tire wear is a pretty big issue. But anyways, let's go on over to the lap guide. I'm in the Dodge Viper Group 3. You want to make your way towards the left side of the track as the lap starts and brake just after the 2 board or just as the dotted line on the right starts. Ease on the brakes to around 90% braking power for a very short moment and start to ease off of the brakes as you're turning in, so you're doing a lot of trail braking and being really careful getting on the throttle so you don't understeer onto the gravel. Then brake before you reach the bridge just up ahead. In the Dodge Viper, it is possible to exit this turn on 3rd gear to make sure that you get less wheel spin. Then brake before the curb on the right starts, so you're going to be at around 50% braking power for a short moment. Ease off of the brakes as you're turning in and be pretty careful about getting on these curves, because if you get on them a little too harshly, that can unsettle the car. So I just want to put that out there because those curves have ruined a lot of my testing runs. But anyways, turn in before the 1 board and start to ease off of the brake shortly after. And then brake just as you approach this brown patch that is on the right. If you can, try to take advantage of the entire width of the track, but otherwise stay towards the right side of the track and carefully get on the throttle. In the Viper, you can also exit on 3rd gear there as well. But anyways, that is pretty much it for the lap guide. Let's go ahead and take a look at the strategies. Before I get started, you know how I was mentioning to be really careful at turn 3, also known as Graham Hill? Yeah, you want to be really careful with this curb on the right, because if you enter it too harshly, it's going to spin you out. So I just want to illustrate that. Please be careful around that turn. But anyways, taking a look at the race strategies. First, make sure you have all 3 racing tires. So if you don't have them, go to the tuning shop and buy them. But anyways, 25 lap race around Brands Hatch Indy with the Group 3 cars. Fuel is a ×3, so fuel is actually not an issue because we're at a very short track. But the tire wear is a ×10 and tire wear is a pretty big issue. All 3 racing tires are allowed, but only the racing medium and hard tires are required. So you're either going to do a 2-stop where you use the racing soft, medium and hard tires, or you do a 1-stop where you use only the racing medium and hard tires. And long story short, the 1-stop with the racing medium and hard tires is much faster than the 2-stop with the soft, medium and hard tires. And with the really high ×10 tire wear, the racing soft tires wear out way too fast to provide any sort of benefits. You're pretty much only going to want to use the racing soft tires for qualifying. What you're seeing right now is me trying to do the 2-stop. So this is where I do 7, and yes, 7 laps on the racing soft tires. And then I try to go for 11 laps on the racing medium tires and then do the rest of the race on the racing hard tires. And the racing soft tires, they wear out way too fast. So in a moment we'll take a look at how they're doing at the end of lap 7. And yeah, you can see 7 laps in and the racing soft tires are really worn out. And yeah, they just wear way too fast, and then you have to do another pit stop. And with this track being really difficult to get any sort of passing done at, you're going to not benefit that much with having the racing soft tires. And yeah, that's the other thing. You also have to deal with traffic, because here at Brands Hatch Indy, it's going to be very difficult to get any sort of passing done. So if you get held up by anyone, then you're only going to be losing more time. But anyways, going over to the pit stop. So pit loss is at around 13 seconds, so it's actually a bit shorter than usual, but still, if you had to do 2 pit stops, you lost 26 seconds in total because you're doing 2 pit stops. So is the 2 stop worth it? No, not at all. The other thing is that when you're using the racing medium tires, you really don't want to stretch them out too much, because at that point, if you stretch it out way too much, then the car is going to be a lot less willing to cooperate because the tires are so worn out. So the car becomes more difficult to control, and you're going to lose a lot more time that way. So for me, 9 to 10 laps is actually the sweet spot for my racing medium stint. For others, it may be a little shorter, others may be a bit longer, because it'll depend on your driving style and the car that you're using, and to some extent what's going on around you as well, because if there's a group of cars ahead of you that are really fighting it out to the death, then you might want to pit early to try to get the undercut on them. But you also have to be aware that you may end up pitting out into traffic, so you want to time your pit stop just right. And I just switched over to the racing hard tires, so now I got all the tire requirements out of the way, so I can pretty much just drive around for the rest of the race. And at the end of this race, the 2 stop using all 3 tire compounds, this race I ended up getting a 19 minutes and 12 second run. So this is going to be the baseline, and I'm going to tell you this once again: the 2 stop is slow compared to the 1 stop. If the tire wear was much less severe, then maybe the 2 stop would work, but because the tire wear is at a really high ×10, the racing soft tires just don't last that long to provide any sort of benefits. But anyways, going over to the 1 stop, so this is where you only use the required racing medium and hard tires. And as I mentioned earlier, you want to get a good idea of how long your racing medium tires last depending on your car and driving style, because with the ×10 tire wear, the tires wear out pretty fast, especially the racing soft and medium tires. But with the racing medium tires, they should last around 9 to 10 laps, maybe 11 if you're really good with taking care of your tires. But around that time, that's when you should start to think about pitting in to switch over to the racing hard tires. Something I also haven't mentioned is that you might want to switch tires depending on where you're starting. So if you're starting in the very front, then you can start on the racing medium tires to try to get away from everyone else. But if you're starting closer towards the middle or the back of the pack, you might want to start on the racing hard tires to get the slower tire compound out of the way after some time, and then eventually switch on over to the racing medium tires. But anyways, at the end of this race, so this is the 1 stop where I only use the required racing medium and hard tires. This run was about 14 seconds faster than the 1 stop. So in this run, I ended up getting an 18 minutes and 58 second run. So the 1 stop with the racing medium and hard tires is the way to go. So only use the racing soft tires for qualifying. Do the race only using the racing medium and hard tires. And whatever you do with this strategy, try to avoid getting yourself into any sort of unnecessary battles or into any sort of shenanigans, because that's a great way to lose a boatload of time here where it's really difficult to get any sort of passing done at. And strategy will also play a pretty big role in trying to get any sort of passes done, because if people were battling up ahead of you, you pit in early, then there's a chance that when they pit in, you're able to get past them because they wasted so much time battling each other to the point where you benefit by pitting out in front of them. But anyways, that's going to be pretty much it from me. So once again, do qualifying on the racing soft tires, do the race on the racing medium and hard tires, so only do a 1 stop with the required tires. But that is all for me. I'm going to go ahead and sign off now because, well, it's really late over here, 4 in the morning, but that's all for me. This is Mr. CA. Wish you a good race, and I'll see you in the next video.
Cause